Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen and ladies, welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. Before I get into this one, just make sure that you subscribe down below, interact in the comments, and you make sure to leave us a thumbs up on the video today. It is going to be a shorter video talking about the first half of the Cleveland Indians 2021 baseball season. I know this is a team, in the city that we do not cover a whole lot. It's just really not exciting as the other sports, where every game is pretty meaningful. Even in the NBA, there's a lot of, good performances to talk about and things of that nature. But with the Indians, it was an interesting first half of the year. We're going to get into the specifics. We're going to talk about where we are in the division, and I'm going to give some insight on playoff chances and good things surrounding the team. If you like what you see, like I said, make sure you drop a like. If you don't like what you see, drop a dislike. Tell me in the comments what I can do better, what the channel in general can do better. But that's all for me. Let's get into this one. All right, to start this portion of the video off, we're going to be talking about, of course, these standings in the AL Central. At the top of the division, we see the Chicago White Sox with a 54-35 record. Then we see your Cleveland Indians in the second place position at 45-42. That puts us 8 games behind the Chicago White Sox for first place in the AL Central and being able to really solidify that playoff spot by winning the division, which, is always a major key. It's really tough trying to get into the MLB playoffs, relying on other teams to lose and playing well down the stretch, especially in the second half, which it's not totally disheartening because a lot of these Terry Francona clubs over the years have been second half teams, which is a good sign. But being 8 games back is somewhat disappointing, definitely better than a lot of the expectations that I think were set for this team, in the preseason and just by analysts in general, and even a lot of the fans of the team. Losing Francisco Lindor, losing Carlos Santana for a second time, moving on from Cookie Carrasco. There wasn't a lot of hope surrounding this team, that we would be good and that we would even be in this position. But at least for my expectations, I knew that we were going to be competitive, but it is just a little bit annoying that we were 2 or 3 games behind the White Sox 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then we went through a terrible 9-game losing streak right before this All-Star break happened, which I'm sure if you've been following the club, you were around for, you were watching those games, and a lot of those games were close. We were getting unlucky, and we just couldn't finish games out. We head into the All-Star break on a 3-game winning streak, so that was good to see on a nice bounce back. But I really think it's important to note here a lot of the major injuries that this team has had. While there have been, teams around the league with a higher quantity of injuries, some of the Cleveland Indians have just been absolutely terrible. You had Franmil Reyes going down for about 4 to 5 weeks. Roberto Perez down for the same amount of time. 3 starting pitchers, Shane Bieber, Aaron Savali, and Zach Plesac, all missing significant time with an array of injuries. Zach Plesac breaking his thumb, taking his shirt off, quote unquote. So that's just unlucky. That's just terrible luck. And even some underrated pieces of this roster. Jordan Luplow has not played in a couple of months for this team on a sprained ankle. So it's been a little bit disappointing that a lot of our lineup hasn't been there. You have the terrible, awful injury to Josh Naylor in right field, colliding with Ernie Clement, which was just an absolute bummer. Josh Naylor is going to be a stud. That kid could really hit the ball, and he would have been huge to have in our lineup throughout the whole season. And I think something else that I see a lot on Twitter, and a lot of people make this great point, that it took us 100 games to – or it took us not 100 games, excuse me. It took us 100 at-bats to bring up Bobby Bradley. We gave Jake Bauers 100 at-bats before we brought up Bobby Bradley, and he's been a pleasant surprise, hitting the ball to all fields and, bringing that power from the left side of the plate, which is something that we've really been missing. This team is missing a lot of power. It's missing a lot of offense at points, which is frustrating, having those one-run games, being on the bad end of a couple of no-hitters. those have been really frustrating outings when we just can't hit the ball. And then the next game we go out there and we score 10, 15 runs, and then they're pretty much dry for a couple of games after that. Haven't really seen a great consistent identity on the offensive side of the ball. But again, you've been missing big hitters like Roberto Perez, like Franmil Reyes, and now Josh Naylor. We definitely have done a good job trying to piecemeal the pitching together. It hasn't been easy. We have had a bunch of starting pitching up that they either were relievers in the minor leagues or they just were starters in the minor leagues that were young. You've seen Eli Morgan make a couple of starts. You've seen Logan Allen begin the year on the roster and really just not pan out. J.C. Mejia, for all those who've been following the team quite closely, he has some mental problems on the mound, I think. I think that it's kind of psychological for him, especially coming out of the stretch. And Cal Quantrill has been a pretty decent surprise. He's definitely been lengthened out. I think Cal Quantrill is someone in this second half of the year, he could really be that fourth and fifth starter. You've had hit or miss opportunities from Sam Hentges. Nothing special there, nothing that I would write home about that he could, be an everyday starter. But as far as the bright sides for this team, obviously you have Jose Ramirez just completely clobbering the baseball, having another good season, another all-star type season, played in the all-star game for your Cleveland Indians. The back end of the bullpen has really been maybe the best part of the team the whole year. You have people like James Karinchak, you have Emmanuel Clase, and you have a good resurgence of Brian Shaw, even at his old age, coming to the back end of his career, throwing in the mid-90s. I think Brian Shaw has been an underrated part of this team. I think that the way Tito uses the bullpen and how he utilizes the end games for us has really been a big key. I think Terry Francona is basically your large contributing factor when it comes to saying that this team's, 3 games over 500 and still within striking distance of first place. For the rest of the year, my predictions are that we do not win the AL Central. I think that there's a good chance that we could be in the play-in game if we stay healthy. If we get Shane Bieber back, Zach Plesac, and Adam Savali, and they stay healthy the rest of the year, I think there's a good chance for this team to be in the playoffs and definitely in the one-game play-in game. So it should be interesting moving forward. I'm not sure what this team's going to do at the deadline, the trade deadline. I think that in the past we've been sellers and we've been buyers, the past 5 years. I think that there's a good opportunity for us to buy, maybe with some starting pitching and try to make a move. But I could also see this team maybe even moving on from some key pieces if they really don't think that there's anything they could do with the injuries the rest of the year. I think that would be the wrong move. I definitely want the Dolans and this team to buy before the All-Star break, or not the All-Star break, but before the trade deadline, which they have been known in the past. You've seen them make big moves in the past couple of off seasons, big splash moves right before the deadline, which I've always liked. I think that they've won a lot of those deals, believe it or not, contrary to popular belief, especially with some of the starting pitching that we've let go in recent years, whether it be Trevor Bauer or Mike Clevenger. I think that we've won both of those deals as far as being able to get guys back and not have to pay both of those starting arms. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I really would like to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Do you think that this team has a chance to win the division? Do you think that we will be a wild card team? Will we be in the play-in game? And are we going to be buyers or sellers before the trade deadline? I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts, and I really appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.